Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Ryan Feathers, Elite Pigeon Auctions, and the Monday Night Family Show. Like, share, and subscribe. As I always say, this is Monday night, and hey, what do? We talk pigeons. So tonight, we will leave the door open for you guys to talk everything and anything pigeons, and we'll go from there. Let's make sure that we are online. Again, hoping I did it right. So sit back and make yourself a beverage, and let's start the festivities. We are obviously on Facebook, which is great. Hopefully, someone can check to let me know if we are on YouTube. And we'll go from there. Michael Beevler, good evening. You are the first one on. Let's see how many people we can get on tonight. Let's see if we can get everyone's blood boiling tonight. Blood boiling is good. Kind of a quiet day. It's a little bit late. But good evening, Brian. Good evening. Nice to see you on. Yeah. Monday Night Family Show. Good show. We've got the one loft race. We're going to start taking birds anytime now. Nobody yet. Not too many people signed up, so it's a little bit disheartening. But hey, it's going to be fine. There's going to be at least 64 birds coming, which is good. I think the price point is real good on this race. Again, it will all work out in the end. But, you know, when I was looking at putting it together, going back, and I talked about all the sprint races, sometimes I think, oh, maybe I should have done those sprint races or do the 7 races as we're doing. I just don't know. Or sometimes is it better to just pack in the racing all together for the one loft racing? I don't know if there's much of a point. I see people just posting up races everywhere. So you kind of think it looks like in the States it's just crazy about the amount of races that people are putting out and putting together, and kind of go, wow, this is unbelievable. They're going to slowly they're going to get rid of pigeon racing altogether and just make it this one loft thing that is just so non-pigeon racing. But I guess that's what they're going to do, and that's kind of sad. You know, people are only like, I looked. I was looking there at the Arizona race that just went off, and the birds trained out to 300. What are they? They trained the total training of 350 miles, and they did, I don't know, 4 or 5 race series. And the last race they had tailwinds, and it was very hard. And I look at these people, and they're grading all their breeders on this, and just birds are not even really being any bit tested. And it's so mind-boggling that it gets passed. Like, it's still, now we'll see how many birds the gentleman gets next year, but I look at it and I wonder, say to myself, wow, what is pigeon racing going to become? But hey, people like what they like, and that's totally fine. Yeah, and this is the thing. As I said earlier, we kind of looked at our race, and I'm being honest. What do people want in a race? I get the common thing is everyone says the races are too expensive. Almost everyone says that. Okay. But then there's the flip side of it where they say, well, the race doesn't have any prize money. The race doesn't have any prize money. There's no big prize money to the races. But you guys make the prize money. Now, for someone to take birds in and do a race, they obviously have to get paid. And everybody running the one loft race is getting paid. It's just a matter of how big the perch fee is, how much they're showing you, and how much they're really doing. What's going on, my friend? How are you? And when we put our race on, um, and I look at it, I said, well, the common thing everyone says is they can't afford, they want to put more than 5 birds in, or they want to put more than 2 birds in, or they want to have a big team, and they can't afford it. So I looked at it and said, hey, $1,000 for a team of pigeons. If that's 10 pigeons for you, if that's 20 pigeons for you, if that's 5 pigeons for you, it is what it is. Activation, keep it cheap. Keep it real cheap. But you're going to fly the pigeons. You're going to test the pigeons. There's going to be a little bit of prize money. If you don't want to activate them, you don't have to activate them. You can just let them go. And I look at it and I go, but that's really not what anyone wants, because all they want is a guaranteed prize money. So I kind of think to myself, well, if I was to guarantee $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000, is that going to make people just run up and play in the races? I don't know, because then you got to have activations, you got to have a bigger this, a bigger that. So I often wonder. I think what's going to happen is the small races will bleed out, and it'll just be big races. That's my thought on it. Because I don't. Eventually, why would you want to fly even in a small one loft race? The small one loft race, the guy can't do the proper work, right? Because if he doesn't get the birds in, there's no point in doing it. You know what I mean? And then even with a small one loft race, if you look at it, people always say, well, there was no birds in it. There was no birds competing in it. So really, how good is it? But I look at it as how really good are birds in a one loft race? Are they really that good? I mean, a pigeon that flies week in and week out in a combine or a federation, I think at the end is a pigeon that's going to have a little more for you. But that doesn't really matter, because it's slow. You can see pigeon guys, they don't even get their birds ready for racing. Um, I seen somebody there post a picture of how they pack birds into the box to ship them to a one loft race, and I just say, like, they don't even care. They're just trying to save money on how they're shipping their birds. Eddie Ortiz says, when the Flyers in Europe fly a very small team, do they race them weekly? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Guys are racing once or twice a week. Again, your sprint flyers can fly them a little more. Your middle distance guys, greater middle distance, they can go once every week, every 10 days. Then your long distance, or your 1 day long distance, or maybe every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. Extreme long distance is maybe once a month, or once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It all depends, right? But that's, again, it's just a different world here in Europe on how they race the pigeons, and I think the outlook here in Canada, or in America, is, I don't know if there's it's not the same pigeon men. They don't live to race pigeons. They buy pedigree. They talk a good game, and then I don't know, they'll come up with an excuse, or they don't put the work in, or they're not really into going to that club and racing those pigeons. You know, I that's just what I kind of notice. It's just a different. Speaking with pigeon men in Europe, you can speak pigeon to them. In North America, there's always an angle. There's something. or I find, and I'm not knocking this. It's just because I don't think it's not the same racing. They'll show you a pigeon with zero results as if it's a good pigeon. It's out of this old family, or it's out of this. Yeah, but where's the genetics of winning and winning and winning and winning? But it's again just things that I look at and you notice, and you kind of sometimes shake your head and go, "Wow, this is interesting." And then you put up a race, but you put up a race, and you almost actually at one point say to yourself, "Here, geez, I had to put $1,000 into the win companion to have my race up there. Is there a point of putting it up on there? Is it like, I don't know, because if you really race them to race pigeons, the people don't come back. If you do shows and you try and be really you, the real you, that sort of doesn't work either, because does anybody, I'm still can't figure out how Howard Stern ever made it, because he was just out of this off the rocker, but he stuck it the way it was, and I think he did pretty darn good. Some say, well, you have the same kind of, I just say it as it is. I do. I say it as it is. Business wise, probably not so good, because I find in this business of pigeons, everybody very, very sensitive. Very sensitive. Instead of letting the pigeons do the work, people are worried about. I watched a guy there today, Torres. Um, Jerry Torres won loft race. He did a video and he said, "Oh, in a couple of weeks, the birds will be crawling all over my feet and eating good." And I seen there on the floor, there was some feed on the floor, and there's this and that, and the birds are picking, and it's new. It's a new thing. And I probably shouldn't use his name. And I looked at it, and I looked at it in two ways, left and right. Well, that's a shitty video. Birds aren't responding good. The feed, blah blah blah, all over the floor. This. You're giving me an excuse. I wouldn't show that. But then I look at it the other way, because I've been in his situation, and I say, yeah, that's good. That's what he's showing me. He's showing me right now they're not acting the way he wants them to act, which he's explaining to me, which I think is good. Well, let's see in 2 or 3 weeks when he's feeding how they are and how they're acting and how he's progressed with them. And I like that. But two sides of pigeon men, one pigeon man will look at it and rip it apart and what they seen for that 15 seconds that Mr. Torres put out. I didn't think it was bad at all. I looked at it and said, okay, good. You're showing me something. Maybe I don't maybe like what I seen today, or maybe I do like what I see today. But it takes so much balls to go out there and put that out there for people and show them the daily of it, feeding them and having them jump over your feet and doing this and doing that. You know, I was the originator of taking people in, and I look at all these other races now. They're starting to completely. They try and do what we do, and if they learned anything, if I paved them the way for anything, it was whatever I did. Just don't really interact with the people, because if you interact, this is where the trouble lies. But looking at the Torres there, I watched it and I read his little post that he made, and I looked at it and I kind of smiled and I said, "Good for you. You're posting that out there, and um, I think that's awesome. And I hope the people don't go out there and rip them apart, because that's what people do. Uh, that's what they're trying to do. But I seen the innocence in it and what he was doing, and it wasn't perfect. It was just a guy trying to bring you guys closer into his little world. And there'll be people that'll rip it apart, and there'll be people that'll silently rip it apart, and there'll be a few people that appreciate it. So I thought good on him. Do I think the one loft races are big lottery tickets? Um, Yeah. The lottery ticket in the one loft racing is the guy running the race has to keep you coming back. Now, he has to do whatever he can do to get you to come back. So, some lottery tricks are uh, equal first prizes, very easy courses, maybe not giving you all the updates you want, and making uh, nothing. It's not even racing. I mean, let's think about this. Let's honestly think about it. Why in the world we could take we could take the big one off races, right? They're taking in 2 or 3 thousand pigeons or 4,000 pigeons, whatever it is, and they give you a 3 or 4 race series. There's not much to it, but you guys, it's not. You guys aren't testing the pigeons. But do people want the pigeons tested, or do you want money? The harder you push the pigeons, the more pigeons you lose. The more pigeons you lose, the owner of the race gets less pigeons next year. That's the if you look at it, they don't they can't push the pigeons. And I see if you don't test your pigeons at home, the pigeons that you're sending out are worse and worse quality. You know, think about it. How many guys watch this show, and they're judging their young birds that they sent? So, for instance, a few years ago, you guys, a whole 400 birds came to my loft, and I pulled some flights. I tried something. I got outside the box. I was really thinking good. Maybe that's my biggest disaster of my racing point, um, with other people's pigeons. And I pulled the flights, and the birds just wouldn't come back around. They wouldn't fly over the shit. It just you try. I tried to stretch it. I tried and tried, and these birds just they didn't want to loft fly. They didn't want to ramble. They just didn't want to act. They weren't sick. They just weren't right. They lost that. And that was a my mistake. I don't blame the pigeons. But that being said, people that aren't thinking, they judge the race and say the birds I sent to that race were garbage. Well, the handler didn't do the right job, or the handler made a mistake. Okay. Or we can look at it the other way. All the birds were handled the same, and only that 100 could do it out of the 400. And then you have people, because you lose their birds, they send you 10, they have one left at the end. They're upset that they'll only have one left at the end, and they don't activate it. And that turns out to be a winning pigeon. Again, people, I look at pigeons. They should be worked every 5 days or every 7 days at the max. At the for testing, I think the races can easily American races can easily do shit. I'd say 8 to 12 races, no problem. Everybody should already be advanced up for this. But you don't see that, and I know why, because you don't really know what you have. You never know what you have. And you're only as good as your next day out. And if you're putting out Win Companion, guys, if you want to know to have your race on Win Companion, it's $1,000 to put your little logo up on there. I'm not complaining. I'm saying that's one of your costs. The next cost is your loft. The next cost is your advertising. The next cost is your clocking system, your chips, your this. The only way you make money in this is doing races of 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 pigeons. And when you get those pigeons, no matter what you do, You have to play it a certain way. That's my thought on it. Hey, Sam, how's it going? So that's just my thought on it a little bit. I thought that Torres guy, I thought that was a nice little video. Um, Again, I don't watch a lot of people's videos. I happen to scroll through and I seen it, and I thought it was cute and interesting, and hopefully people don't attack him. But hey, people will. And what happens is the more you open up on social media, the more you open yourself up to be attacked and you get defensive, and then you end up picking fights, or you end up standing up for yourself, or you end up not doing it anymore. So I'm trying to look at the Cotton Classic. I don't understand what happened to the Peach Classic and why did it change to the Cotton Classic? And is I wonder what Al's up to. I haven't seen Al on. Al used to do the videos and that. I wonder how he's doing. I don't know if he's still part of that race, but yeah, I think one laugh races are 100% lottery tickets, and it's all for big dollars. And it's the loft managers are always going to come out the winners, and you just got to be smart with it and build big lofts. I seen a guy that can't race pigeons. He built a big loft, and the people know he can't race them, and he go in. People load up and go in, and I say, well, all it was a big loft. I don't know. Your backyard lofts like what I have here, have a little bit of fun. Put a couple hundred birds in and play the game. Race them to race them. I just don't think it's. I think it's gonna die. You'll see it die soon because there's too many big races and everybody's goo goo gaga over these big races. When people don't realize playing your pigeons at home is the best way, and then hey, playing maybe a big race good. Playing a couple small races is good to test your pigeons out. The only thing is the small races, the guy's running it. If he doesn't get enough birds, he can't run it. You know, it's like you were to say, if you were to have a small race and you say, well, we're going to take in 200 birds and you charge 700 for two birds or three birds, and there's your activation is $200 a bird. You're paying for that guy to work those birds. You got to get paid to do it. Do people want that? No. I had someone ask me nicely, can I get them product? Okay. We got to get the product. We got to bring the product to America. We got to cross the border and ship the product and ship the product. Let's say the product costs $60. I'm just going to say that $60. By the time I import it, land, cross the border, ship it, my time, my this, my that, I got to get paid for it. So you give a price. Well, your price is crazy. It's out to lunch. Hey, I'd love to be able to give this stuff to you, but it all costs time and money. And if you have to take stuff across a border, there's some stuff that can't just cross. And everyone is always about the price, the price, the price, the price. You want this, you want that. What do you want? You can't. What do they say? You can't have your cakes and eat it too. What does this have to do with pigeon racing? I don't really know. Jason Malik, how's it going? Monday Night Family Show. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. And then I look at it and I said this the other weeks, is it would be so nice to see some of these one loss fly against each other to honest it up a bit, to keep the races honest, and none of them want to do that. Not yet, anyways. Not yet. It'll happen in time, but not yet. Has to get a little more sour. Uh, that's what you think about here in the land of pigeons. How great could the sport be? And what do you guys think would make this sport great? You know, I think someone said that it'd be fun to put on a grizzle race or a white race, or and I think that's a great idea. But it's funny if you walk around the different clubs, and I'm going to use clubs all over the world, Canada, America, Belgium. So many people disregard pigeons with white on them, or pure whites or grizzles. They laugh at them. They dismiss them. And, you know, a lot of people like grizzles and pigeons with white on them, or blacks or reds or whatever. There's a big market to have good ones. Get out there and play those pigeons and create. No one wants to do it, then people give them a bad name. It's so funny when you're just having a little bit of fun. I thought that was a great idea to have a white pigeon race. That'd be a lot of fun. And then you look on the other side and you say, well, where would you get the pigeons? I mean, you put on a 7 race series. I don't know. Is there 60 pigeons coming to the race? I don't know. I mean, you can't get people to just put regular pigeons in. Interesting. But the longer you watch pigeon racing in Belgium, the further it takes you away from pigeon racing in America. And I know for you people watching, you don't understand maybe what we're saying, what I'm saying. It's just a different pigeon flying thought. It's a different sport. It's man and pigeon. It's not man sent pigeon to race. It's a cohesive unit. There's a strategy. There's ruthlessness. There's thousands of pigeons. It's just a total difference. And the longer you see it, I think it makes it harder and harder to go back. I often, I often think of this. I look at people like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, all the big names, that played for Manchester United or Real Madrid or AC Milan. They play for the biggest teams, biggest football teams in the world. And they started in the academies and they went all the way up, and they won Champions Leagues and titles and all this stuff. And I find it kind of funny that, and I'd like to talk to them, but when you go up to the mountaintop, okay, and you get to the top of Mount Everest, like those players, and then you see them on their decline, they end up going to the MLS to play. And I must think in their dressing room, or not in their dressing room, with their wives at home having dinner, they chuckle and laugh because they must say, this isn't even playing the same game. I don't believe it is. The crowds aren't the same. The atmosphere is not the same. The players aren't the same. The youth teams aren't the same. The buzz around the team is not the same. None of it is the same. It's a real bad diet version. And I said, if I come to Canada and race pigeons, I'd like to race pigeons in the local area. But I wonder if I went to the local area and I applied, if I could get even in. Or would they come up with some hoop and hurdle and jump? And it's so funny in Belgium. As long as there's a club, you can fly. There's none of this dictatorship. And you already think if you go back to Canada and you want to play, you have to be completely quiet. I mean, you just have to be a monk. You have to be quiet. You don't say nothing, do nothing. But when you just even try to apply, I think you're already tired out. And then you say, well, what are you applying to do? To fly against what? People that really want to fly or don't want to fly or make excuses of why their birds aren't ready, or I don't know. It's like I'm saying, once you see the Champions League, can you go back to something different? You know? That's a question. And I haven't raced. I'm just watching it week in and week out. I'm just seeing the dedication with the flyers, the systems and how they play. And even in my loft tours, they always underplay a little bit of what they do. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Gavin. You hit the nail on the head. And this is what makes it hard. This is what makes it tricky. But you still like to play pigeons, so I don't know. I really I don't know even what I'm saying on this one. I just find it a little bit. It's funny how two worlds of pigeoning is completely different. Now I haven't been to Mexico or wherever, but um, I've grown up in North America, and I just see how it's evolving, and how people are entering races, and people are even buying pigeons and what they're buying and what they're interested in. People are so obsessed with a name brand pigeon. They'll buy the name brand pigeon over a pigeon that's 20 times better, but you haven't heard the name. But I mean, I guess that's like anything, right? There's Philips TVs, there's Sony TVs, there's all these different things. I don't know. I think it's so funny. People don't ever come outside the box. And as I watch some of these races, and they post up these videos, and they show what they're showing, it's funny just to see. Funny to see how the people will watch it, and you don't get a lot of people even that are ripping it. But maybe it's just how they show it. Last year we didn't show too much because you say, well, what do I want to show? You know, I had I had a guy friends with us from London, my man Jesse Catania. They're good guys, good vodka drinkers, and they enjoy racing pigeons. And in one of my videos, I was drinking 200 pigeons with a 10-liter drinker. One drinker, I was giving him something in the water, and I showed that video, and the response that someone looked at it as and said, "Well, you don't have enough drinkers for the amount of pigeons in there." Well, you caught the video and didn't hear the explanation of why I had only that drinker. That drinker does those pigeons for 2 hours, and then they get a fresh drinker a few hours later. But you show it, and then you have to go back and forth with it. And that's the only reason you got into that hole, was because you actually showed it. Scraping floors, and how your perches are. And I think it's quite funny. And I'm looking at these one lofts. They're building these beautiful lofts. Oh, some nice looking lofts. But none of those lofts that they're building are for racing pigeons. You know, you wouldn't go anywhere in Europe and have all the wire floor, air coming up all the way through. You don't have that. Their lofts aren't set up as pigeon lofts, but these one lofts, they're only set up to keep as many pigeons in them with less sickness, less, but never get super conditioned. Can't get it done. But people like it, but people don't know. Have you guys ever not noticed on all of my pigeon tours in Europe, none of the lofts, none of the lofts are wire floored? And I mean the wire floor with open underneath all the way through. No. All the lofts, they all have cubbies over where the birds sit. Um, a lot of the lofts, almost all the lofts in Europe, don't come with big aviaries. Gavin, am I sour or honest? Mm, hmm. Am I sour or honest? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter if I'm sour, or it doesn't matter if I'm honest. It's, what do you think? Do you think I'm sour? Do you think I'm honest? You know, that's the question. Does it really matter? If you're honest, it's not really good. If you're being honest, I don't think it works. I mean, not it doesn't work, but you can be, I guess, honest to a point. You have to learn to cut it off. I mean, hey, take a look at Ovechkin. Let's give him a congratulations. Ovechkin scored. Ovechkin scored. What was it? He's the leader now in goal scoring. Okay, he scored the goal. I looked at his celebration. I thought it was boneheadish. I mean, he slid across the ice. I don't know. I don't like it, but he did it. That was his moment, his time. But you see how people can look at it? Well, yeah, that's right. Most people can't handle the truth. And if you really want to see somebody that will give you the truth, and he'll push the truth, you push it and push it and push it. I'm that guy. I push it. I push and push and push. I'll call you out this week. Hey, I've already called a couple people out. I said, my buddy Jesse Catania. Yeah, I'm pissed off. Guy's not in our race. But the same token, you had the nerve to tell me I don't have enough drinkers, but I put your birds into money when it was time. Step off. I'll get you back there again. Just relax. But that's being honest, coming out, standing up for yourself, or whatever. Where instead you shouldn't say nothing. You swallow and say, "Okay, yeah. We won't show that again. We won't show that again. We won't show that again." But the funnest part about doing a race, and I love to get 500 birds here. I like to play 500 pigeons. And I'd love to take those pigeons and work them against the combine. I would love to. I'll absolutely love it. It would be my greatest fun thing to do, to take your pigeons in a one loft scenario and fly against the combine, which was my original plan. But again, people wanted money and they got jealous and they put their back up and they took something beautiful and they squashed it. And they used me as the scapegoat. But yeah, I love to have 500 birds, and I'd love to go to the up north combine. And I'd say, hey, I want to buy a spot on your trailer. I'd like to get a combine result, and they'll all say you're going to mob fly and you're going to beat everyone because 500 birds are coming to your place. That will not happen. I'm going to try and win. I'm going to work my best, and I'm going to hope. But I have to have the quality of pigeons. I have to have the health. I have to put the work in. And I'm going to tell you, I cannot condition 500 pigeons like a Joe Ferreira can conditioning 50 pigeons. It can't be done. Put your mittens on. Yeah, put your mittens on. That's all right. Put your mittens on. But my thought always is I want to take people's pigeons that will not fly them in a combine, push them, or they don't have the time because they're working, or they don't know how to do it, or they're afraid to do it. I will take them and I will show you what your pigeons can and can't do. That was my goal on doing it. And it got totally disrailed into being me versus everyone else, when all it is making the pigeons the stars of the show. Every year I've raced, I've had good years, I've had bad years. The pigeons were always the star. I let the pigeons down? Sure, I've let them down. Do sometimes the pigeons let you down? Of course they do. But that's man and beast working together. But yeah, I still think to this day, I'm putting on a silly 7 race series. It's not really what I want. I just kind of drop my shoulders and say, I'd like to take 200 or 300 birds in, or 200 birds, and I'd like to fly them in a combine and fly against the combine guys with all of their pedigreed pigeons and the birds that people send us. It's so cute. So cute. There's a guy, Owen Cleveley. You guys remember Owen from way up north. He sent us pigeons basically from barn pigeons. The recessive red, old Yeller. Both parents had no rings. We didn't know if they were race birds or not, but he put them in and he put his little bit of money in. I don't know what it was. I think he was a junior member. I think he got to put his bird even in for free. We got the pigeon to the third or fourth race. Well, we took that bird and we to the max of its ability. It didn't finish, but we took it to the max of its ability. That's pigeon racing. So I sit here and I say to myself, I look at what we're doing with our one loft race, and I kind of just shake my head. And I go, everything I wanted in this, it's just never, it doesn't work out. The people don't believe, the people don't see it. They're not seeing what I want to do. My options are, oh yeah, they're great. I go to the breeder, I show you the pigeons, I select the pigeons, we select the best that we can select, and we show you from start to finish. But in that one loft race, I just want to fly them in a combine. I don't want anyone to ever say, Ryan, did you take them to 300 miles? No, I put them on the combine truck. That's their responsibility. We're flying against top flyers in our area. They have to compete respectably. That makes me feel good about you guys paying me to race your pigeons, instead of you guys paying me to race your pigeons and constantly wondering, is he at the spot where he says he is? You know? But people are so trustworthy. And I often wonder in these one off races, and if you look on Win Companion or throughout the world, Win Companion, Benzing, how many of these races go to where they say they're going, do what they say they're doing? But every year, people come back, people come back, people come back, people come back. So yeah, right there on Bloomington Road, Sure, I'd love to fly your pigeons. I'd love to fly everyone's pigeons. Put them in and fly them in a combine. How do you get involved in a combine? How do you get the people to say, let's give it a shot? Or you say, hey, do the other one loft races want to go head to head and fly? And well, we know why they don't want to, and I get that, and I'm not going down that hole again. But you shake your head because I know the sport is can be much better than it is, miles better, miles better. And if people just went out of the box a little bit, well, you Gavin, you need to learn how to breed for success. Well, if you don't test the pigeons respectfully, and you don't test them the right way, you'll to breed success very, very hard. The other thing is you got to get the right pigeons from good flyers. But what's a good flyer and what's a guy that has named pigeons? You know, I can go out and buy good pigeons. I know where to go, and I can buy some good pigeons, pigeons that I know get worked every week, and then I know where I can go and buy pigeons with big names that don't do any work. But then when I get those pigeons, I have to be able to work them respectfully and then judge them respectfully. So this is what I say. When you enter into a race, okay? When you enter into a one loft race, and I'm using a one loft race, or I'm actually not, we're not even going to say this. If I give, for instance, Dave Crozier, okay, or I give Gavin, or I give Don Meredith, I give them 10 pigeons from me. I can say, here, Don, here, Gavin, here, you take these pigeons, they're a gift, you fly them in your loft against your own pigeons. Okay. I never say another word. I give them to you and you go and play them. And I hope at the end of the season you call me back and say, "Holy jumping, right? That bird was my best bird this year." Very good, very good. That works. Okay, or two of your birds were great. At the end of the season, if you call me, if or we talk, or we meet at the club, or I bump into you and you say to me, "Hey Ryan, I had a pretty damn good season. I had the ace bird in my club. I won two races, and yeah, my birds did really good." And I say, "Oh yeah," and I say, "Well, you don't say anything about my birds." You say, "Yeah, I flew your birds. I lost them all. Lost every one." It's okay. It's good. You tested them out. My birds had to work under your schedule, under your plan of attack. I'm not going to micromanage you and say, well, what did you, if my birds couldn't keep up to what you were doing, but your birds could, my birds don't work for you. My birds, maybe I need your birds, but I have to be honest. I have to hope that the guy's honest. But I wouldn't give somebody pigeons that I don't think aren't going to give me an honest shot. I know I see some people, they'll go to an auction and it's a band race auction. Okay, it's a band race. So all the birds that sell, that money goes to a race. Okay, and guy will buy a pigeon from me. Oh, I paid $500 for this young pigeon, or $300 or $200. Do you know it's a Hubin? Do you know it's a Rosier's? You know it's a Lambrecht? You know it's a Janssen? You know it's whatever. I'm going to stock that pigeon. You can't do that. What you're better to say is, man, I bought this pigeon. I'd love to stock this pigeon. I'm going to fly it. I'm going to fly the best I can. Hey, would it be possible maybe at the end of the season, in case I lose this one or something, can I get another one just in case? But fly the pigeon. Go back to what you were saying earlier. What was I saying earlier? Education is the key. Learn how to breed for success. Is that what we were talking about? Gavin, what did you want me to go back to saying? But people take pigeons, don't race them, stock them, or don't push them. You know, I see people hold birds for a band race and they'll hold them, and then they send them to the band race and they lose them. That's for me. I when I bring a pigeon in, I'm going to push them to the same ability as the birds that I have. I want to see where they break. I want to see how they act. I want to see if they're better. But if you buy an expensive pigeon and you're afraid to try the children, you're only going backwards. Uh, didn't score on an empty net. I don't care if he scored on an empty net. Ovechkin, he could score on an empty net. He was going to break it anyways. He was going to break it. And somebody that'll break his record. Everything is going to always be broken. Come on, Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, Ovechkin. Hey, is it Matthews next? I don't know. We don't know. That's besides the point. It does not matter. But that's what makes that sport great, eh? You just watch it. There's someone else coming up. I had a guy tell me that he was going to stock one of my auction birds. Yeah. Right. People stock for no reason. They just stock. They don't test. They're afraid to test. They're afraid to lose it. And a lot of pigeon men are afraid to push the pigeons. It's 30 degrees out, or it's temperatures today are up at 100. I can't work the pigeons. It's overcast. People don't want to work the pigeons. It's raining. We don't want to work the pigeons. It's late in the day. We don't want to work the pigeons. It's hawk season. We don't want to work the pigeons. I hear pigeon men that make all the excuses. And what they do is they excuse it into the corner until there's no way out. The bird was never cataloged in one race. Hey, I told him to fly it, and if it did good, I would raise him around next year. But that's what you did. He never put it in a race. Mike Sharon says they are pigeon keepers. Well, yeah, Mike, they're pigeon keepers. But if you're a pigeon keeper, you can't say you're a pigeon racer. You can't. I like to race pigeons, and I say that, but I like to race them. I like to push them until they break. Some will say I even push them too hard. Maybe so. I push them to the max of what I feel that their capabilities are. Again, Mike Sheridan, you were part of the race a few years ago. Those birds weren't flying worth a shit. I couldn't get them. We pulled the flights, blah, 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 blah. I go back to it. Now, the crooked pigeon businessman would have said, these birds can't do it. Hell with it. Let's make up some excuse. Let's bullshit it, blah, 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 blah. Let's figure out a way out of this, keep face, and go. But the other side, the pigeon racing man said, nah, I'll take these pigeons and I'll find the ones that want to do it. I'll find it and I'll find it and I'll find it and I'll find it and I'll find it. And you did. But into finding it, you actually sink your boat because you're being straight and honest. Shane, that club and their members do that with a lot of our club members' birds. I will not take another bird to that auction. Well, I don't disagree with you. It's a little disheartening when you put it in for a band race and people don't fly it. Honestly, those guys, I would give them my best birds because I would give my best birds because I know they're not handlers. It's not just about birds. No, you always have to remember the bird is the bird. You play the instrument. You play the bird. You feed him a certain way. You train him a certain way. You set the loft up a certain way. There's you in that bird. There's your little motivations. We talk about it. Think about this, how silly this is. People normally call pigeons, I see it so many times, when the pigeon lands on the roof. You shouldn't. You should be calling the pigeon when the bird's in the sky. That's a small little detail. Small little detail. But that's evolving to the next level, using droppers, the next level, motivating them, next level, feeding, next level, not medicating or keeping them naturally healthy with natural products and not pumping the drugs in. I've had a couple good one loft races that I've done well in. And the common thing I've gotten back always is pigeons come back, they never breed right, and by the time they're 6 or 7 years old, 5 years old, nothing. And that tells me the birds went to the races and pumped drugs. The livers, the whole insides are El Cookdo. I'll tell you, if I win any one loft race, when I play them, I am not even playing in any. When I play in one, if I ever play in one, and the bird wins, instantly it's sold. I'm not interested in it. I have the parents. I'm not interested. I will give it to someone else. They can breed out of it. They can play with it. I know. I know. I know. And this is my feeling. I haven't. I have not got birds that produced for long years that do a one loft race, and I can't figure that out. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. All I'm saying, their coaching skills are not up to the same standards as mine. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You coach them a different way. That's There's different levels of pigeon flyers, and as Mike Sheridan said earlier, there's pigeon keepers, there's pigeon racers. The problem you get is everyone wants to evolve. Everyone wants to be better. So a pigeon keeper, as long as he has a pedigreed pigeon and he has a new basket and he has a brand new clock and he can kind of puff his shoulders up and make some excuses up and talk like a racer. But if you're a real hardcore pigeon racer and you live to race, you love it, and you don't care to lose, you'll push them to the max of their ability. You almost cannot speak to a pigeon keeper. It's like it's just one of those things. Robert Hamilton says sports is overrated. Too many soft flyers these days. That's why the losses are. That's losses all. They lose all their birds. Yes. Yes. You know, in life, it's the people that are willing to push themselves to the end, push harder, take that mountain that's this steep and say, oh, it's not that high, keep going. And then there's people, their mountain's not even that steep and they quit. But I think that's with everything in life. I'm looking for the people that'll go up that hill like this. And I think this sport, there's more of these than these. Because I'm telling you, we're putting, and I look at my race. I look at it, we put it out with Ricky. It's not even really what we want to do. Well, you couldn't get the people in. Because why? Well, they don't know what you're going to do. They don't know what you're going to show. I don't know. The prize money's not enough. Try and figure it all out. I can't figure it out. If I do nothing, they say, well, he did nothing. If everyone else does nothing, it goes by the wayside. But if pigeon racers don't want to lose their pigeons, they have to learn how to work them, respect them, but push them. Push them harder than they ever thought. And when you're willing to push them to that level, you'll start to see. But most people won't. You know, training a young pigeon 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times in a day. Who wants to do that work? Who can do that work? But boy, does it benefit them. Taking a pigeon and letting him go in small groups, letting a pigeon go in large groups, letting a pigeon go by himself, flying that pigeon in the middle of the day in the maximum heat, flying that pigeon in the early morning, flying that pigeon in the late of the day, all different scenarios. Every time you play them, you get them a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more comfortable. And that's how they get better and better and better. But if you give them a cookie cutter system, I wake up in the morning, I let the birds out for a 1 hour fly. They fly, they land, they come in. I leave them in the loft all day. I was going to train them at 10 o'clock. It was a bit cloudy. No. The next day goes by. I was going to train them. Headwinds were too strong. I couldn't let them out for a loft fly because it's overcast. All these little things. Every time you build an excuse, you make them worse. If I knew in December or January that you were planning to do, like you said, 30 to 50 birds, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm not complaining. Um, no, I'm really not. I always say, and you want it, you'll make it happen. And you can, guys can look at it for what it is. And I appreciate get your guys at your club. That's great. Hey, whoever wants can come in. And I'm always it's no pressure. I always just kind of think to myself, sometimes what do we got to do? What do you got to do to get birds into a race? Because it sure as hell isn't racing them. It's big lofts, big prize money, and bullshit. And people that don't even have the skills to race them can do it. I don't want to get anybody upset, so just calm down. Gavin's been racing for 20 years. Relax. I'm relaxed. So yeah, interesting show. Always thinking about what your next move is, what your plan is. How do you make something good? How do you get back into good graces? Or how do you be pretend enough? Is that the word? Is that what I'm looking at? Pretend? I hate being pretend. I can't. I'm an asshole. That's how I was built. I just tell it straight as it is. But for pigeon racing, that's not really what it is. Set it up earlier. I don't know. I don't know. Set it up earlier, set it up later, set it up whenever. Birds can get there in the first of June and fly them in October, and they still do fine. I don't I don't I just look at it as take a look at what you get. Yeah, Gavin, you got to fly the pigeons week in, week out. Have a training program, some type of a management throughout that season, and test them. And again, I hate to say it, if you're not doing some of the small things, the darkening, the learning how to feed them, small things, and a small thing is over medicating. You don't need to drug pigeons. You don't need to be hitting them with respiratory and canker and all this shit. People just overdo it. People are trying to win through the bottles instead of winning through the work. I got this little juicer. It's a little juicing machine. Okay. You cut the orange in half, you put it on, and in about 2 seconds, it makes fantastic. To have a small glass of orange juice like this, small glass of orange juice, it's 2 oranges and a tangerine. Okay. Or two tangerines and an orange. And that juice is damn, is it good. Now, I got to cut it, I got to do it. I can go to the grocery store and buy the fake orange juice. And that really tastes like shit and it gives me heartburn. That little bit of extra work to make it, that natural, give it to your pigeons. As my good friend Derek Walsh, why buy the shit in the bottle? Why buy it in the bottle? Cut the beets up, make a mash up, potatoes, starch water, this. Do these small things. And it's so easy to pick up the bottle. Well, we're going to do this. We're just going to give it out of the bottle. Well, we got to spend this kind of money. You're not even giving the birds the proper shit. Good pigeons, maybe experience was never lost, maybe just late. Yeah, maybe. Recover. Maybe I have to fly a consecutive race season and develop. We already talked about it. And consecutive race season is being able to, you learning how to, you learning how to condition them, feeding them, resting them. You have to know when to rest. You have to know when to push. That's something you have to learn on your own. But you only will learn that by doing it. Did I train them too hard? Am I not feeding them enough? Am I not feeding them the right stuff? I see people that they're buying all in North America here. I see the feeds that they're buying, and I shake my head and say, we don't even have real pigeon feed. People are making up these Mickey Mouse concoctions. You can feed it so simple. You need carbs, you need fat. Carbs and fat. That's all you need is carbs and fat. It does not matter how many different seeds are in that bag. You need carbs, you need fat. You need carbs, you need fat. For them to activate. So can we send multiple shipments? I'm going to have to set up the shipments for our Americans. Americans are going to be sometime there in May. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with the government to be able to bring the birds in. It won't be a problem. I just got to put that all together. I haven't put an American date up yet. I will have to, but again, you look at it to import. If I import one pigeon, or I import 1,000 pigeons, you're looking at 1,500 US to 2,000. I think last time, I'm lying. Last time my buddy did it there, Danny Lee. I think it was 2,000 US dollars. 2,000 US dollars, and I think we brought in 60 pigeons, 70 pigeons, 80 pigeons, was it? Oh, 100 pigeons. Let's just go with 100 pigeons. I think it was around 2,000 US dollars. You see what I'm saying? I want to put a shipment in, but you want to see the people that want to participate. You want to say, hey, I want to get in this and play. Mm. The great part is you want to find people that want to race your pigeons, and you got that guy. Ricky and myself, we love racing pigeons, and we'll race them hard for you. We'll race them honest for you. We'll race them almost to a fault, and that's always will be our number one downfall. But I'll tell you, if I can find another guy like that, I'll send birds to him. You know, I look at these races, and there's some really, really races that look, the money looks great, this and that. And then I look at what I can see. I say, well, you're just making money. You're not racing them. But you got all these people, but you're not really giving them. You're not giving them your very best. And I still think it will be beautiful one day. It'll be absolutely beautiful. And I don't know who's going to do it. Maybe I'll do it. But I'd like to see a race where it's 10 races or 15 races. It's a single bird entry. It's $1,000 a bird. They only take 100 birds. It's $1,000 activation for the ace pigeon. And each race, the activation goes up by $100. So the loft manager, he makes 100,000 to fly 100 pigeons. He shows you your videos, he shows you your loft, he shows you the whole kit and caboodle. In the same token, when it's time to activate, you activate the pigeon. Whatever's left, you have to activate, which you're only allowed to send one pigeon. That's 1,000. And then each race, it goes up $100. So race one, 1,000. Race two, or not race one is $100. Race two is $200. Race three is $300. Race four is $400. And it goes up and up and up. And then you play. And what it does is it gives the guy that's loft managing the pigeons, it lets him play them really good. He can get in there, make that good feed up. Can get in there, yellow drop him. Can get in there. Whatever he's got to do, can manage. He's going to make money, and the winners are going to make money. Interesting, eh? And maybe, hey, $100 up per race is too much. But why does everyone have to race against 5,000 pigeons? When most of the time on the final races, the ace pigeon, the ace pigeon never gets the money. The true ace pigeons never win the money. There's always some scrub that showed up. Was late on race 4. Boom. He showed up on race 5. Or a bird that was gone on race 2. Went to race 4 and won it. I just want to see real damn pigeon men work real damn pigeons. And I'm great. I'm totally good with playing in a race like that. And if there's two guys that want to do it, picking a bird in that loft and a bird in that loft and going for it and going head to head and having two birds in each loft. I love that. I'm great. I don't mind to invest in that. But I just want to see them fly the pigeons. I just show me what you can do. Push them out there. And I'm talking about guys that don't build lofts that can fly a pigeon, that are going to push them and going to work them. Anyways, hey from Chicago. What's going on? Fun show tonight. Not going to lie. A little bit calmer tonight. I'm sitting here waiting patiently. I had some injections into my knee. So my knee's a little on the gimp. Couldn't put any weight on it. So I'm just kind of hobbling around. We should have Ricky on. I'm hoping maybe next week Ricky will be on for that Monday night show, or maybe another week or so. He's taking a little break from the shows, which is fine. If anyone is watching in that Southern Ontario area and they just have something comes to them, I'd like to take those Pioneer Ricky 7 birds and fly them on that combine. I'd like to just see what they would do. She always says you just got to put it out there. You got to envision it. So we're going to put it out there. Good show tonight. Again, guys. We love racing pigeons. Reminder, guys. Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. New York time. I don't want you guys to miss it. Saturday nights, we have Saturday night flights with Lars. Hell of a damn good pigeon man. Good friend of mine here in Belgium. So tune into that. And yeah. All I can say is been a good show. I'm Ryan Feathersley, Pigeon Auctions Pioneer Race of Southern Ontario. The boat may be taking on water, but we have our little bailer. Let's bail her out. Thanks for flying with me, guys. I'll see you next week. I got to go to bed. I'm tired. Bye for now.